Welcome everyone back to a brand new edition of Virtue's Brand of Wrestling right here on the BigVitoBrand.com, also known as Wrestling with Virtue, over on WrestlingWithWrestling.com and Andre Corbeil's YouTube page. The topic I'd like to discuss this week, just coming off of WWE Backlash, in which Edge and Randy Orton had the greatest wrestling match ever, and by now I'm sure most of you have seen this thing. It went about 45 minutes. It was very, very good. Yes, they edited it. They pumped in crowd noise. They put Howard Finkel doing the introductions from voiceovers from probably the past. And look, the match was very good. Yes, it was produced because during a live wrestling match with a crowd, you can't do that. So I'm sure if they did botches, they might have retaped some spots in the match to put it together. Edge recently, it was just announced that he tore his tricep and he's out. He's out indefinitely. He had surgery. During pre-tapes, or not pre-tapes, but after the match, they were retaping some things, and that's supposedly when he got hurt. So people that comment on this match saying that it's a travesty, it's awful, you can go to hell. These are two guys, legends in the business, that Edge when he came back at the Royal Rumble, we didn't know we were going to have a pandemic and no fans. So there were these plans for Edge. WrestleMania, probably SummerSlam. Well, we had a pandemic, and him and Randy, WWE decided to go on with WrestleMania in front of no fans. He and Randy had the last man standing match. It went over 30 minutes. People criticized it, saying it's too long. It's not the type of match you do without fans. Then they came back and WWE announced his greatest wrestling match ever between the two, and it was a clear troll to the dirt sheets, to Dave Meltzer's star rating system. And the fact is, these guys went out and taped another 45-minute match, maybe longer, depending on the extra things they taped after the match. And Edge got hurt, right? These guys, to try to entertain people at home when there's no sports, you can't go to events. They put in 2 long matches, and ultimately now Edge is out injured, and you fans want to complain about, it was too long. No, it's not Okada and Omega. It's not Steamboat Savage, and all these, they've had to pipe in the crowd noise. I remember people heading into WrestleMania. What are they going to do for a crowd? Can they put digitized boards up and maybe pipe in some crowd noise? And then all of a sudden, when they do the crowd noise for this match, now you say it's overproduced. Make up your minds, okay? These two guys, for the last 6+ weeks during a pandemic, have tried to entertain you to the best of their ability, above and beyond their ability. Okay, now Edge is going to be out for 6 to 8 months before he can come back again, which, good rest for him. And hopefully by then, pandemic will be over, and when he does come back, he can have that match in front of a crowd. But just stop being fickle. These two guys, yes, this match was edited, okay? But the fact is, barring the circumstances, WWE decided to produce it this way. It will go down as a classic. I like the last man standing match because the two guys involved were doing it for the passion of the business, doing it during a pandemic to entertain people at home. And so while you can be, critics, sometimes you need to know when to lay off, and you could say, that match didn't do it for me. You don't need to seriously criticize these two, especially because we know Vince McMahon and WWE ultimately says this is how you're going to do it. Just seriously, people. Edge and Randy Orton are legends, Hall of Famers. A lot of the matches that you put over, that you say are the greatest wrestling matches of all time, the New Japan matches, how many of those guys are really Hall of Famer? I mean, what do you see in these in-ring, greatest matches ever? The moves? The move sets? The kickouts? Does it have to be a certain type of move that's done over and over again to make it great? Or is it their name? Or does it have to just take place in the Tokyo Dome? That's what I don't understand. And then, they're bastardizing or whatever the word is, finishers. They were using everybody's finishers. Look, that's not. They have been doing that for years. Kicking out of finishers has been a thing, especially for WrestleMania. I mean, people kick out of Canadian destroyers. So don't say they ruined every finisher that ruined the match because they were doing the rock bottom and all that stuff and kicking out. That's already kicking out of finishers has been something that's happened for a long time now. Don't act like that's something new that just took place during that match. Okay? Now I'm not saying you have to say this was the greatest wrestling match ever. We know it was a rib to the dirt sheets, to Dave Meltzer's starting system. But the fact is these two went out there and doing what they did, looking back on it, it was very, 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 very good. And so when I see the critique out there, and people just have to find reasons to hate and spew venom, and it's like, come on, like seriously, like years from now, all your great matches they blend in. And I'm not saying some of those New Japan matches aren't great, okay, but we don't need narratives and agendas, okay, and just because it takes place in the Tokyo Dome and Okada's in the match. You know what I mean? There have been better matches than those. Owen Hart and Bret Hart had a couple of great matches, more than that if you count the house shows, in 1994. Okay? You want to talk about greatest matches ever? Let's not even talk about New Japan. I can go back to Steamboat Savage. But Edge came back, and again, the plan was this whole storyline with Randy, and imagine if it took place in the stadium at Tampa. His reaction, that last man standing match, the crowd would have been into it, right? He would have got a huge pop. Imagine if this match took place in an arena. Okay, now I'm sure they wouldn't have built it as the greatest wrestling match ever if they couldn't heavily edit it, but nonetheless, I'm just sick and tired of the constant criticism of workers, especially ones that choose to work. Not everybody's choosing to work during this pandemic. Where's Sami Zayn? Where's Roman Reigns? We know Brock Lesnar's always been part-time. Becky is pregnant. She's on the shelf indefinitely. So when you do have wrestlers that are doing stuff like Randy and Edge have done during this pandemic, the last couple of months, sit there and appreciate it. Don't sit there and like become the super critic. Like if this was just normal, like if we didn't have a pandemic and their match took place in Tampa in the stadium and they did this match in the arena and it was just the shits, okay. You know what I mean? But like this is not the time to be saying this is awful. Now you can say the creative is bad, right? You can say, oh, the Bobby Lashley and Lana storyline, and it doesn't even help Drew out. If you say that kind of stuff, I get it. You can be mad at booking and creative, but don't take it out on the performers. They have done a hell of a job. And I'm one of those that preach, I wish these wrestlers would work safer by not doing flips and flies and stuff. And Edge, granted, this greatest wrestling match ever wasn't all about the flips and the dives, and it was about just they did the finishers, the arm drags. It's very Edge and Randy Orton type stuff. But because they had to go above and beyond a normal match where you would probably call boring, Edge got hurt. He didn't even do flips and dives and crazy stuff, and he still got hurt because they knew they had to get it to that specific level, right? Even doing edits to make the fans feel that it was at least worthy to be discussed as a great match. I'm not saying all-time great. Edge got hurt, not even a flipper and a flyer. So you need to sit there and you need to think about that. These performers putting their bodies on the line when they don't even have to. Edge never had to come back and wrestle. He was successful out of the wrestling business. I'm sure he made tons of money wrestling. Same with Beth Phoenix, and they're married. They're well off. But he came back. He came back because to entertain those fans for one last time and one last run. Seriously. Like, when I see Twitter and social media, and immediately as the match is happening, it's like, oh, the piped in crowd noise. Because that tells me that you're not even sitting there giving it time. You're not even sitting there watching it. You're sitting there tweeting, I don't like the crowd noise. And, oh, it was cool to Finkel. It's like every little thing has to appeal to you to make you happy. Like that's what I don't get. When, during the golden era when I grew up watching wrestling, during the Attitude Era, there were a lot of things that I did not like. But what kept me watching? the things that I did. And whether the Heenan family ultimately all ended up losing because they were the heels, right? I still like I'm going back on YouTube and watching stuff back from then because it was that good. And again, I wasn't a Hulk Hogan fan. I liked all the heels against Hogan. When the Warrior fought him, I loved the fact that the Warrior beat him. And then Hogan went to WCW and played his political card and got one of the greatest heel turns, if not the greatest of all time. Had another great run, but towards the end of that, he was suppressing people, and we all know what Vince Russo had to do. Ultimately, Booker T got the title, but fans, that was bad booking. I mean, what does it take to be happy, right? Like, I want you all to go back and watch that Edge and Orton match. Okay, you don't have to go back and watch the Last Man Standing match. I get it, because that match did need a crowd, but I enjoyed it. But I'm not going to sit there and tell you have to go back and watch that one. But watch this wrestling match, and don't watch it and say, "Oh, I don't like that piped-in crowd noise." Oh, the WWE Performance Center students in the crowd, it's just not genuine. Just go back and watch the work. And yes, we know they edited it. Go back and watch that. Just go watch every little nuance and intricacy of that match. If that's how you say that, I don't know. And you, I hope, will open your eyes, be enlightened, and say, you know what, we are wrestling fans, and yeah, we would like to see them book certain, people a certain way, be more creative, and give us more surprises. But at the end of the day, stop critiquing the talent if you've never been in the ring. I even see the hate go to Nia Jax, and it's weird because yes, she can be green, and yes, coincidentally, Kairi Sane's been hurt in matches with her. You got a legend like Mick Foley trying to protect her, saying she's a good worker, and it's like you shouldn't even have to say that, even if she was a little green, because fans should like not critique it. If all of a sudden you stop seeing Nia in matches because they send her back down to get training, that's what they should do. But if they have her still competing against these people, there must be a reason. But these performers, they're doing it for a living. Now, what they do on their social media, and they open up their real lives, and everybody's in a relationship in the business, and they use their real names on social media. I'm not a fan of that, because I like wrestlers to, stay in the character so I can suspend my disbelief. Like, I mean, if you want a personal, private social media page with your families and friends, that's cool. Or, maybe have a personal Instagram, but have your character on Twitter. It's just a fine line when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to ever sit there and critique these performers through botches, through what you call a Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal boring match. Look, I sat in Chicago, okay, and Money in the Bank a couple of years ago, and it was Roman and Jinder, and I stood up in my section and said, "This is awesome, fight forever," and people were looking at me like, "This isn't an NXT match. Why would you say that?" But not one of them in Chicago, not one of them that I feel like was a threat to me, because ultimately they're just little. This is how they're gonna tweet their opinion. They're gonna say their opinion. But if someone else is enjoying something they don't, they won't say a damn thing. They can call me strange and weird, but yeah, I'm the guy that said this is awesome and fight forever for Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal, because they're good. They're very, very good workers, right? Vince McMahon pushed them both. People hated them because of that. That their fault? They were feeding their family. This is a job to them. Them being put up in the top like that makes them more money, supports their family better. That's what I enjoy. That's why that's fight forever for me. And Orton and Edge, two guys that don't have to do this kind of stuff at this point, especially during a pandemic. Brock went home. Okay? Roman's not wrestling, and I'm a Roman fan. Where'd Sami Zayn go? But yet Orton and Edge have done this. Now Edge is out hurt. You guys and gals should appreciate these great workers. I mean, if you want everybody to be all-time legends, right? You want your Kevin Owens and all your NXT people, your leg slappers. And by the way, I loved how Randy slapped his thigh during the punt. That's for you, Ciampa. But just reflect on where we're at, what these performers have to do. Some performers not doing it for their reasons, but the ones that do, just enjoy it, right? And I'm talking beyond the creative that you don't like, the pushes that you don't like, the lack of pushes that you don't like, the the scripted promos that you don't like. Beyond that, go back and rewatch that match and just watch Edge and Orton, knowing they were not in a real arena with real fans. They were plant fans from the Performance Center, but they were putting their body on the line to get footage so WWE could put together what could still be a great match. Like I said, it's not the all-time greatest. We know that was a rib, but come on, people. Come, just lighten up. And I'm telling you, now we're going to see if Orton, maybe Christian will have his last match and run. And now that Edge is hurt, maybe Christian wasn't going to wrestle, even though he maybe got cleared. Now maybe we get to see Christian and Orton again. Legends, right? They can't do this forever. Appreciate Chris Jericho, almost 50 years old, still being very entertaining. They're not going to be around forever. Wrestler deaths, athlete deaths, I mean, none of them are ever cool. But like I said, don't cross that line of not liking what the company's doing with said talent and how they present their product to actually what the wrestlers do with the product and the matches. Distinguish it. So you don't hate a match just because you don't like WWE presented it as the greatest match ever. Edge and Orton, fantastic match. Was it perfect? Even with edits, no. Was it damn good? Yes. And, like I said, Edge is hurt, but he'll come back. It'll be another story. And when he comes back, by then, hopefully we have fans in attendance back in arenas, and then all this stuff will pay it forward even better, because Edge will have that more fire behind him, knowing he came back out of retirement. Boom, a pandemic hit. They taped some stuff. They had to go extra hard just because there's no fans there. And how do you present it to look good on TV? He gets hurt. But now, think about it. Another story can be told. Just excellent. And then, of course, Randy and Christian. So just appreciate. You can hate stuff, but appreciate the work and the workers. That's all I'm saying on this week's Virtue's Brand of Wrestling right here on the BigVitoBrand.com, also known as Wrestling with Virtue on WrestlingWithWrestling.com over on Andre Corbeil's YouTube page. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. We can continue a conversation about Edge Orton, Orton Christian. Can we get more stuff like this? When will fans come back? When can we go back to shows? I'll discuss all that with you. But thanks for watching, and until next time, I am Virtue. See you later.